Okay, so today we are taking a deep dive into the insanity defense. In movies, it's always this ultimate loophole, right? A sort of psychological shield that says, hey, this person isn't evil, they're just sick. It's meant to swap out punishment for treatment.
Yeah, we're looking at sociological research, media analysis, clinical data, and, well, they suggest the shield is actually pretty semi-permeable.
Right, it works for some, but for black defendants, our sources argue that this shield often turns into a sword.
Exactly. We're diving into what researchers call the racialized border of madness. It's effectively a systemic filter that decides who gets to be ill and who is just bad.
And this doesn't just start when a judge bangs a gavel, right? It starts way before the courtroom.
It starts in the doctor's office with something called the forensic credibility gap.
Yes, this part was fascinating to me. To plead insanity, you essentially need a receipt. You need a long, documented paper trail of mental health treatment.
Right, but because of massive healthcare disparities, a lot of black defendants just don't have that history. They haven't had the luxury of consistent voluntary therapy.
So they show up to court as a total blank slate. Meanwhile, a wealthier defendant arrives with years of therapy notes proving their condition.
But here's the kicker from the clinical data. Even when there is a diagnosis, the race of the patient shifts the label entirely.
Oh, this statistic blew my mind. Black men are 4 times more likely to be diagnosed with schizophrenia than white men.
Even when they present the exact same symptoms. Yes, that is the diagnostic split, and it's basically lethal in a legal context.
Because if a white defendant is diagnosed with, say, depression or a mood disorder,
the court views it as a tragedy. It's something treatable. They're seen as needing help.
but schizophrenia.
Schizophrenia is often framed by prosecutors as permanent, volatile, and just dangerous. So instead of a hospital, the system recommends incapacitation, prison.
It effectively transforms a patient into a predator. And the media reinforces this narrative in real time. I mean, I was looking at the comparison between 2 similar cases in the research, the teddy bear effect.
Oh, you're talking about Joshua Boren versus the Conley case?
Right. So Boren, a white police officer, murdered his family. Absolutely horrific. Yet the media interviewed neighbors who called him a teddy bear and a gentle giant who just snapped.
Contrast that with Conley, a black man who committed a very similar crime. No neighbors were interviewed about his gentle side. He was immediately labeled a menace and a predator.
It's all about humanization. Look at the hot felon phenomenon recently with Luigi Mangione, the suspect in the United Healthcare CEO killing.
Right, and just to be clear, our sources here span across the political spectrum. We're not taking sides or endorsing this view. We're just reporting on how the media universally framed him. Outlets were obsessed with his Italian good looks, his affluent upbringing.
His status as a star student, it felt like they were writing a movie script. He became this complex folk hero to some people online.
Because the media gave the public permission to view him as complex. That folk hero narrative is rarely, if ever, extended to black suspects. And there's a specific psychological mechanism behind why our brains accept this. It's called dyadic morality.
This was the biggest aha moment for me in all of the sources. The dyadic part means we see morality as a seesaw between 2 roles. You have agents, the doers, and patients, the victims.
And it is a zero-sum game. If your brain perceives someone as a strong agent, someone capable, tough, active, it struggles to simultaneously see them as a patient who needs help or protection.
And this connects directly to the superhumanization bias.
Deeply. Studies show people implicitly view black individuals as super agents, physically stronger, having a higher pain tolerance, tougher.
So if you're a super, you can't be sick.
Precisely. You can't be a victim of your own mind. And we see this start in childhood with adultification. Black children are perceived as older and less innocent than their white peers.
So when a black child acts out from trauma, schools and courts don't see a cry for help. They see bad behavior that requires control.
And that denial of innocence leads us to the most crushing piece of evidence in these sources, the case of Khalif Browder.
This is the ultimate failure of that patient status. Khalif was arrested at 16 for allegedly stealing a backpack.
He spent 3 years at Rikers Island without a trial because he couldn't afford bail. 2 of those years were in solitary confinement.
16 years old. In solitary. The sources note his mental health just visibly disintegrated during that time.
It did. He attempted suicide multiple times inside. But because of superhumanization, because he was viewed as a criminal suspect first and a child second, the system prioritized security over his survival.
He committed suicide after his release. The system created the trauma, then completely refused to acknowledge that trauma as a mitigating factor.
The sources essentially argue that the insanity defense, or just mental health considerations in general, isn't a right, it's a luxury good.
For white defendants, mental illness is a path to redemption. For black defendants, it's a justification for indefinite control.
It's heavy, but it really changes how you watch the news.
Yeah, and we want to leave you with one final concept from the sources to think about on your own. Visual criminalization.
Next time a breaking crime story pops up on your phone, look at the photo. Is it a high school graduation picture? Or is it a mugshot?
That single image is manipulating your empathy. It's deciding for you if the subject is a patient or an agent before you read a single word.